Before we continue with the episode, I just quickly wanted to jump in here to let you know that Migration Made Easy, which is our signature online course, will be opening its doors very soon again. If you are serious about making your way over to Australia as soon as possible and you want to become a part of the best community on the internet, you want to make sure that you are on our waitlist. www.chamonixtv.com.au/waitlist. And we will teach you everything that you need to know in order to maximize your chances to make it to this amazing country as soon as possible. All right, let's jump into the episode. Go. Hi, Gerda. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a wonderful privilege always for me to talk to somebody who has not only lived and breathed the journey to come over to Australia, but who is so very well qualified. How are you, Gerda?
Hi, Chamonix. Thank you very much. It's a privilege for me. And I also always enjoy chatting to you and helping our viewers to get their migration process done and to get them over here successfully.
And that is definitely our aim, because you and I have been working hard at helping many people come over. And please tell us, what is your background, Gerda?
Thank you, Chamonix. I'm a medical doctor from South Africa, registered in South Africa. And in Australia, I've done life coaching, and I'm specializing in migration, mindset, and resilience coaching. And I also do a few other things, like I have a weight maintenance clinic where I also use my coaching and my previous background. In South Africa, I also had a weight management clinic, which taught me a lot.
I can imagine, yes, because weight management is could be a very traumatic experience to go through, a very, let's put it, emotional experience to go through, which is in a way very similar to moving to another country. I'm sure you will tell us all about that in a second. But before we continue, can you please just clarify to us, what's the difference between counseling, psychotherapy, mentoring, and coaching?
That's a very important question, Chamonix. Thank you for that. Now, if you look at a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a medical doctor, and a counselor, they all have something in common, which is training in psychiatry and psychology, obviously to different levels and different degrees, where a medical doctor and a psychiatrist are allowed to prescribe medication. A counselor quite often acts as a sounding board and they give advice. And then you get a mentor. A mentor is someone who has proper experience in the field that they mentor a candidate or a person in, and they're quite often very qualified in that area as well. Now, a coach, to be able to do coaching, you actually have to study it, and you've got to look out when you want to do some coaching or receive some coaching from someone that they are, for instance, accredited and registered, and or a member with the International Coaching Federation. A coach will help you grow capabilities and skills to actually achieve your goals, whether it's migration or whether it's winning an Olympic gold medal. So a coach is actually helping you forward.
Okay, great. And you are a migration, mindset, and resilience coach, is that right?
That's right, but I'm fortunate to be able to wear all those hats with a medical background and the psychiatry training and the weight loss clinic. So that helps me in that regard to be able to wear all those hats.
That's right. Many years of practice in South Africa as a GP. How 20 years, is that right?
24 years actually.
24 years. And then how long ago did you come to Australia?
We're going for 3 years in Australia now.
Okay, so happy almost third anniversary for you.
Yeah. Survival,
Absolutely. Now tell me, Gerda, why do people migrate to other countries? What has been your experience, and what does the theory and the practice tell us?
Internationally, we see that the pull and the push factors. The pull factors are normally employment, career, income, working conditions, education of the person and their kids, and freedom of religion and speech is quite often something that's important. And then the other factors are social, political, which is quite often a big thing, and environmental reasons like disasters, wars, and obviously safety for your family.
Okay. Now, we often hear that people say that immigration is stressful. Do you believe that's true? And why would you say so?
It's actually quite interesting. If you look at a list a list of the most stressful factors, you will find that the first one is always the death of a spouse or a child of your own. And then the second one is divorce/migration. Now, I always say that migration is a little bit like a divorce, because you quite often leave people you love, you leave your home that you love, you leave your surroundings. There is a separation. So yes, it's up amongst those very stressful factors.
Absolutely. And then can you run us through the different phases of migration? So from when you start until when, and when is the finish stage of migration?
Yes, maybe I can just add a little bit to the stress. It's a multidimensional thing, obviously, and consisting of functional related behaviors, where we find that attitudes and processes and experiences of the different scenarios plays a huge role. And it's not just the people that you leave behind and the goodbyes that has an influence. You also experience that instability and the loss of identity, the saying saying goodbye to everyone, and then obviously the impact of those that you leave behind and your family that you're taking with. Now, you have the pre-migration, then the physical migration, and then the post-migration phase. Pre-migration, when you get all your paperwork done, where we really and the migration school are really playing a huge role. But then once you're in the country, in Australia, in our case, where you literally get absorbed into your surroundings. And this is now where things start to happen. First, you go through the honeymoon phase. Everything is just very good. It's almost like an overseas holiday. You go and it's an adventure and all sorts of new things, and it's very nice and new and exciting. And then all of a sudden it hits you that this is it now. And then it's almost as if you go through a rejection phase where you feel like, I don't really want this. Have I done the right thing? It's really a big dip. And then it follows by adjustment and adaptation. And after that, you realize that you've got to integrate. But then the last phase, which is something that people don't often talk about, is that should you decide to go back, you get a reverse culture shock.
That is one that we have seen. I have definitely seen a number of, especially South Africans, who've done that, who've come here, gone back to South Africa, and then come back to Australia again. Why is that?
First of all, I think that the preparation coming to Australia, especially the mindset and the emotional preparation, was probably not done, because I think a person is, as a family, you are so busy with all the paperwork. It's the list of admin that you've got to go through is really so long and so tiresome that you actually neglect almost the most important part, and that is that emotional preparation. And I mean, then they're pets and your home and family, etc. And by the time you're on the other side, you're actually just traumatized. And now all of a sudden you've got to start a new life. And then, you know, when you're on the other side and you haven't done the prep, it's not too late. It's never too late to receive the coaching and work through those things and work and discover your own resources and capabilities to be able to have a successful migration. I always say that the moment Australia issues you a visa saying that you are allowed into this country to be able to work and live here, that is your, I almost want to say, graduation certificate saying that you are good enough, you can make it on the other side. You have the skill and the resources inside yourself to be able to be successful. Then the coaching is just for you to develop it and to lift it and to realize and utilize those resources to be successful. If you've got a visa, you can make it. I firmly believe that. And then obviously, and this is very important, as a family, each individual should be in on the coaching. Because husbands and wives and partners, etc., they feel different about certain things. And I do a session called Values and Rules with them. We are different and we experience things differently. And then when you do that and afterwards you chat about that, it gives you insight into your partner's emotional well-being, where they are, what page they're on. And that is a very important thing to make it a successful migration as a family. And then quite often, if it's quite often one person in the family that's incredibly unhappy, and then when they go back, all of a sudden that's also an eye-opener, because as the family, they've actually grown without them really realizing it. Maybe they didn't feel happy, but they've still grown. They've built resilience, because migration is just growth. And then all of a sudden they're back in that society, and they see that their values and their ideas and perceptions, it's changed. And also the country that they lived in also changed, and their friends changed. And then all of a sudden it's not what they thought it was. It's not the same anymore. And then obviously all the why reasons why they actually did come to Australia is still valid. And that's how they end up coming back. But then they're better prepared. And I'm really trying to save people that backwards and forwards. It's expensive, it's traumatic, and we really don't want people to go through that.
Well, I have sadly seen a couple of ways or a couple of reasons why people, well, they came to Australia, went back to South Africa, and then could not return to Australia again. And even though they were then so desperate to come back, they couldn't, because firstly, visa conditions changed for them.
Yeah.
And for the other people, it was that they literally just could not afford a third time to move or migrate. Because, you know, then you migrate to Australia, then you go back to your home country, and then it's a whole lot of money. So it's much better if you just do it, I want to say, properly from the start. And going through the mindset coaching is worth every sweat drop, with every minute that you spend on it, and absolutely the emotional exploration that you go through. And as you say, with your partner, is so immensely important to ensure that you go through that, you know, the 200, 300 meter mark. If you were in a 400 meter race, it's being able to pass that stage.
Absolutely. And what I also say to clients is that they have to realize that the coaching per se is not only for migration. You grow so much as a person, and the skills that you develop, you use that in every difficult situation, you know, changing jobs, tackling with a partner falling ill, addressing big life events. It's really skill that you develop, which is just very, very valuable. So it's not only just for migration, but obviously we focus on that because that's obviously the issue that we're dealing at when we do the coaching.
Yes, extremely valuable, transferable life skills.
Absolutely.
That people learn. Now tell me a little bit about acculturation and acculturative stress, the two big words. What are those, and how does it fit into the migration scene?
It's two big words. And I also had to learn when I started with coaching what this is really about. And this is now you with your culture, where you come from, whether you're American, whether you're Irish, whether you come from India. Now you come to Australia. Obviously, part of your culture is language, customs, your belief system, how you do things at home. There's so many things involved. Your food. If I just think, being South African, Mrs. Ball's chutney is part of our culture, almost like the language that we speak, you know. But then it's interesting, and we see it even more with the youngsters, but also with adults and older people, that they also three phases. This is now you trying to bring your culture into the new culture. And you go through the honeymoon phase, where you are excited about everything new and the way they do it, and food and the way they socialize and the language they use and all the interesting things that you experience. So you try and incorporate that into your life. And then all of a sudden you realize, but this is not really who I am. And then you hit that dip, and that's what they call the culture shock. That's when you go into that culture shock, realizing this is who I am. I am South African. I am American. I am Irish. I'm Canadian. I'm not Australian. This is not really, I don't necessarily, the glove doesn't fit me so nicely or comfortably. But then there's always hope. And especially with coaching and building your resilience, you have adjustment. And that's when you start finding your place with your culture within the new culture. But that in itself can also cause stress.
So what are your tips for getting over that stress? What do you suggest people do who find themselves in that situation?
I think it's very important to realize that you don't need to fit in. Fit in is a very tight term. You need to find your crowd. We all have a crowd where we belong, and there's quite often, and it can be an Aussie crowd. It doesn't necessarily mean it's just got to be a group of Irish people or wherever you migrated from. It will quite often be something that you have a common ground or a common interest. Sport, maybe something, all sorts of different clubs. And this is also something that we recommend to migrants, is to become part of a club, whether it's a book club or a needlework, embroidery, a football, footy, tennis, whatever club, because then you find that you can adjust and you integrate. But I want to say something, and that is that to me, there were very nice surprises in terms of Australia. We live in Perth, and I always say my two biggest surprises were, number one, the beauty of the river. I couldn't believe that it's this big and how beautiful it is. And the other thing that really surprised me was the Aussie attitude. And I mean it in the best possible way. The Aussies are amazing. And I remember coming here feeling that you're on the back foot. You feel like you've got to defend why you are in a new country. What are you as a foreigner wanting from this new country, etc. And it was not the case at all. The Aussies are amazing. And I remember getting tears in my eyes from Aussies saying to me, welcome to Australia, welcome to Australia, welcome to Australia. I hope you settle in quickly. If there's anything we can help you with, just tell us. The other thing that I need to say in terms of culture, and we've experienced that with school, the general Australian attitude is really for you not to give up your culture, but to embrace it, but obviously become part of the community. And that's quite a difference. They don't expect of you not to stop speaking your language, not to eat your food, not to wear your clothes, not to stick to your traditions or your religion or whatever is important to you. They actually have multicultural days at school, for instance, where the kids can bring their babuati or their whatever is true to your culture to school and educate the other kids on your culture. And that is absolutely amazing. And I really think that is such a wonderful gift that the Australian people give to migrants per se.
Absolutely. We see those multicultural days celebrated all across Australia, in schools, outside of schools.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I like the most about the fact that we have so many cultures here in Australia is the diversity of food options. And I love a good meal.
Absolutely. You can literally choose anything and everything. It's, especially when the sunset markets here in Perth, and I'm sure you see them over East as well, where you go and you visit those food trucks, then this will say that this is Caribbean food, and this is obviously South African food, and this is Jamaican food, and it's just wow.
It is. And just to touch upon the whole language thing, as you say, nobody expects you to stop speaking whatever your first language is. It is appropriate for you not to speak in your first language when you are in the company of somebody else who don't understand your first language, of course.
Yes.
Because then it could be really rude if you're just talking a language that this person don't understand. But generally speaking, I hardly ever see anybody doing that. In fact, people just automatically change over to English. And even if your English isn't that good, the Australians are really good at trying to understand you. And if they don't, giving you an opportunity and asking, well, maybe is there a different way that you can explain yourself? And then also I love it how people always say, oh, there are so many accents in Australia, because it is. And initially when people move to Australia, they hear the Australian accent and then they say the Australians speak with an accent. Yeah. But you, Gerda, now that you've been here for 3 years, I've been here for 17 years, I don't hear the Australian accent anymore. In fact, when somebody from overseas come, I pick up the South African accents or the British accents or the American accent. That's what I hear. I don't hear Australian accents anymore. So for me, Australian accents are now the normal English, because that's true.
That's true. And you know what they say about an accent? An accent is a sign of bravery. That's what it is. It means that you were prepared to migrate out of your comfort zone to an area where you stand out, or a country where you stand out.
And I also just fabulous.
I also want to say I have this agreement with one of my Aussie friends where she's my sounding board. Whenever there's anything that someone said to me, I will text her and I say, what does this mean? Do I interpret it correctly? I don't want to step on any toes. Or if I have to do something, I will ask her, what's the correct Australian way? And then obviously all the slang and the different ways of putting things, like an afternoon is an arvo, and an electrician is a sparky, and a carpenter is a chippy, all of that. And then I really enjoy it when we have a conversation and I throw in all these Australian terms and to see her respond, it's always a bit of a hint of a smile on her face when she sees my Aussies coming along very nicely.
And you try so well, and that's really important as well, because you know, we have come to this country. Australia has given us an opportunity, a new opportunity at life, essentially. And it's really important that we acknowledge and embrace the fact that we have been granted this. It isn't our country that we were brought up in. Yes. But now that we are here, we grab this opportunity with both hands, and we embrace, I want to say, the Australian culture as well as our own. And I want to say we make it one. You can't really make it one because there are two different cultures, but you accept both and you celebrate both. One is not better than the other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, that is actually such an amazing thing, because as a person you grow, because you experience more, you understand more, you create space for each other because you understand where the other person is at. And I must also say, the culture amongst migrants is also amazing. The assistance, the support that your fellow migrants will give you. And we in general have an attitude of we're paying it forward. We're helping new people, you know, and I think that is beautiful. And I remember in the beginning that also brought tears to my eyes, to think that you have to move across oceans, across continents, to literally do what's necessary, and that's extend a helping hand to your fellow citizen who's coming from your country, or to, for that matter, to other migrants, because in the end we battle with the same things, we experience the same insecurities and anxieties, and we can just as well help each other and make it better.
And absolutely, the support that I have seen, how people reach out to each other, is incredible. How often do we see that people land from wherever they come from, their home country, they don't have any furniture?
Yes.
And they'll just do one post on Facebook or in a group, and then suddenly, whoop, you can, you know, basically furnish their whole house just because people want to help.
Yeah, if you read through those posts that you sometimes see where people ask for help, it's really, it touches your heart, and it's amazing. And I think that's also part of the growth. You learn to really extend a helping hand and to be more open towards others, and to create a space for them to find their feet and to feel comfortable and secure, and build a new sense of community.
And I think that another important aspect to touch upon is that often migrants are very proud people, and we don't like to depend on others, because one of the things for you to be able to move to another country is you got to be strong, and you got to be resilient. And often along with that comes the fact that I don't accept help from anybody else. And the whole journey to come to another country is one of isolation and one of almost being damnified. Is that even a word in English? I don't know. damnification by your fellow countrymen because you have left that country. And so you find yourself really lonely. And as I said, it's a solo road. You come here, and so you just learn to depend on yourself. But I always try and encourage people to ask for help when they get here.
Absolutely.
And to accept the help.
Absolutely. And especially emotional help, because we're sometimes too proud to really acknowledge that we are battling. And to be able to say, listen, I'm really battling, or my child's battling, or my wife's battling. Is there a way you can help? I think the sooner you ask for help, the quicker things will get better. And it gives me, and I mean my fellow team members, such immense pleasure. And it's just amazing to see how the migrants settle in and how they turn the situation around. But I like to help them prepare before they leave, because the saying goodbye, etc., is also traumatic. And then obviously then they're better prepared. I call it like flight simulator. If you played flight simulator and you know how this plane flies, and you have an idea of what the airport looks like, where you're going to land, etc., and who's going to say what to you and what you have to do, then you're going to have less anxiety. It will be less stressful, and you will be able to find your feet in your new area and your new life, and go. I always say, I want to get them from surviving to thriving. And sometimes people say to me, I'm not even surviving, I'm barely breathing, to get them from there as well. And it is possible. It is absolutely possible. You must just ask for it if you're battling.
Now, for those people who are brave enough to ask even before they start making their move to Australia, please tell us, how can you help them, Gerda?
Okay, this is now where I get very, very excited, because I start with them. I have a specific course that I do with them. We start with the why list. It's important for them to know why they want to do that. And I quite often say that it's different for people in different countries. We have to acknowledge that. Being South Africa, I know that the political situation is probably the biggest factor there. People don't necessarily want to leave the country, but they know they can't stay any longer. And that makes it more traumatic. Some people do want to leave their country. But we prepare them, we help them even get the mindset ready to achieve all their goals in terms of their preparation for their paperwork, for the visa, all the assessments that they've got to do to help them stay on track with that. I can help them with that. And then obviously with all the other emotional stuff, speaking to the people at work, the family, the comments that you get, people supporting you, people judging you, people trying to stop you from doing that. And then obviously by the time you say goodbye, you're very well prepared. And when you land on the other side, you know what's going to happen. And then obviously I stay in touch with them, we all have our ups and downs. And when there's a down, I'm still there.
How special is that? You know what? You need a certain kind of person to be able to do what you're doing. And you cannot just, this is not something that you, in my view, that you can just learn and then start doing. You have to actually have experience migrating to another country, like you have done fairly recently as well. So it's so fresh in your blood. You have not forgotten what a struggle it can be.
Yeah, absolutely, Shamini. And I think this to me is why it's a passion. Being a medical doctor coming here, I was a little bit stripped from my career because I've got to redo exams and then work rural for 7 years and then come back. And it's a very long journey to be able to do what I did in South Africa. And our migration process happened very quickly. My husband got a job offer. We were actually per migration rules to be able to come to Australia. So to us, that was an absolute miracle. And it was a no-brainer. We just decided we came. 8 weeks later, he was in Australia and I was packing up in South Africa after living our whole lives there. And then when I arrived here, I had this absolute vacuum. I had no time whatsoever to prepare myself mentally because there were just too many logistical issues in such a short time that we had to address. And then one morning I woke up and I was in Australia and I felt I had nothing. Who am I now? What? You can't call me a doctor here. I'm not having a clinic. I don't have my staff. My friends are not here. My family's not here. My husband went to work, our daughter started school, and all of a sudden I was like, now what now? Bawling my eyes out. And that's just when I realized, okay, girl, it's either adapt or die. You can sit here and sulk and feel sorry for yourself, or you can start doing something, pull up your socks and decide. And and then subsequently I saw other migrants who were also fresh, and I saw that they were in the same position, and they were also felt like with no identity, very traumatized, etc. And I thought, no, we can do better. We must help our fellow migrants. This is a traumatic experience. If you don't tackle it the right way, and if you're not prepared, etc., we can do better. We must do better. We must help each other and be better prepared and have the resilience and the mindset to hit the ground running and to find your feet much quicker once you're on the other side.
That is so true. You have lived it, you have breathed it. And I'm just so thankful that you are lending out that helping hand of yours to help pave the way for other people not to go through the trauma if they don't need to. So thank you so much for sharing with us the insight on the whole journey for people, not just like the physical journey, but the actual emotional mindset aspect that comes along with it, and that people more than often don't speak about, unfortunately. And then it's a problem that surfaces too late. And then it's like, what do I do now? So thanks for touching on that really difficult topic sometimes, Gerda. And if anybody would like to get in touch with Gerda, you can go into the link down below this video, where we will be able to let you get in touch with Gerda directly if you wanted to book some migration mindset and resilience coaching chats with her. She is, as you can see, the real McCoy and an absolutely fabulous person. You've also meant so much to our students in Migration Made Easy so far. We've had a number of students groups who have already graduated through the program, and the feedback that we get from people who have been in your coaching and who have gone through it just say they didn't realize how important it was to go through that. And now that they've gone through it, they feel so much more prepared and ready to take on this whole big journey to come to Australia.
Shamanu, thank you so much for this kind opportunity. It's an absolute privilege, and I must say I really enjoy it. And the success of our migrants in our migration school, it feels to me like a personal success too. I really love seeing them smile and flourish on the other side. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, Gerda. We'll talk again.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye then.
Thanks for watching today's episode. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you want to find your dream life faster and land your Aussie job sooner, Migration Made Easy, our signature online course, is the place to be for you. Hop onto shamanitv.com.au/waitlist to make sure that you know when our doors do open the next time. Thanks for coming back each week, and I hope you hit the subscribe button so that you are notified whenever we have a new episode. All right, my friend, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.